Hi everybody, this is God's Girl G. Thank you so much for joining me today. For those of you who are new to my channel, welcome. And for those of you returning to this channel to watch this video and you're not already subscribed, I'm going to encourage you to do so by clicking the subscribe icon below. And if during the course of this video you hear something that you like, click the thumbs up, comment below, or better yet, share this video with someone who you feel could benefit from its information. With that stated, let's get into today's discussion. There are not too many of the stories in the Bible that make me want to weep. I mean, literally weep. There's the story of Jesus' life in the New Testament, which makes me want to cry. And in the Old Testament, there's the stories of Joseph, Leah, and Hannah. Hannah's story holds a special place in my heart. Her story teaches us how we can honestly express our feelings and our desires to God. Speaking about our desires, pain, frustrations, and stresses can give us comfort, hope, and peace in our times of sorrow and pain. Hannah's story is only discussed in 2 chapters in the Bible, which can make her story somewhat easy to overlook. Her story is found in 1 Samuel chapters 1 and 2. Hannah was one of 2 wives of Elkanah, and they lived in a hill country called Ephraim. Now, Elkanah's other wife had sons and daughters year after year, and that other wife would provoke Hannah because Hannah had not borne any children. And the Bible describes it that the Lord did not give her any children. And of course, this made Hannah very, very unhappy. Now, Hannah's husband did not understand why she was sad and continuously wept and would not eat. Because after all, he felt as a husband, he was as valuable to her as 10 sons. So one day when Hannah could no longer bear the pain of her infertility, she went to the temple to present her request to the Lord. It was there that she cried out and she wept bitterly. She was so upset and so desirous of God granting her request that she made a promise to the Lord in her request for a son that said, "If you will indeed look upon the affliction of your servant and remember me and not forget me, but give your servant a son, I will then give him back to the Lord all the days of his life." After she said this prayer, she continued to pray in her heart, but her lips moved without any sound. When Eli the priest saw her, he accused her of being drunk in the temple. Hannah then explained that she did not have any wine or strong drink. She instead expressed that she was deeply distressed and was praying to the Lord. Eli then spoke and said, "Go in peace," and asked that the Lord would grant her her request. After that, Hannah was no longer sad and she no longer fasted. The priest said it, she believed it was so. Not long after her visit to the temple, she found herself with child. When she delivered her son, his name was called Samuel, meaning asked of God. And Hannah did not forget her promise either. As soon as Samuel was weaned, she presented him to the Lord. When she arrived at the temple to present Samuel to the Lord, Eli the priest was there too. Hannah reminded him of the time that she had prayed to the Lord for a son and about her desire to dedicate her son Samuel to the Lord. And the rest is history. Now, before some of you become too sad about her story because no sooner than she gave birth to her son that she gave her son up, let me provide you with this interesting fact. We are told in 1 Samuel, the 2nd chapter, verse 21, that God did not just answer Hannah's prayer the first time. God continued to answer her prayer. Hannah had 3 more sons and 2 daughters while Samuel grew up in the presence of the Lord. Now, isn't that something? There are some lessons that we can glean from Hannah's story. I personally believe that Hannah's story is not just about her infertility, but that there is a deeper meaning here that we can understand about our infertile, barren, and dead places in our lives that we are secretly longing for God to breathe life into, whether it is our health, relationships, dreams, and other things. So what template did Hannah model for us that we can use for those barren and dead places in our own lives? First, Hannah held space for her pain. I don't think anybody naturally befriends pain. At least I don't. I try to avoid it at all costs. But in our society, it seems like sadness, it is a mark of shame, that you should not be sad, especially in Christendom. How dare you be sad when you are blessed of God? Well, I love following the Lord, but there are some times when I'm having some bad days. And there are things that I'm wanting God to do in my life. When we are told not to cry about a situation, we have consequently been taught to disconnect ourselves from processing emotions that are there and present for a reason. I can appreciate the fact that Hannah expresses the weight of her pain. Hannah did not avoid her pain. She didn't negate it or even hide the weight of her pain from those around her. She bravely allowed it to be felt. The process of finding meaning in painful situations and experiences starts with stopping to identify what is hurting and holding space for it. We need to feel the pain and not be so focused on labeling the pain or dismissing it or minimizing it. Second, Hannah presses into prayer. Hannah moved toward pouring out her soul to the Lord. She was open with her emotions in the very messiness of her grief. Hannah was accused of being drunk with wine, but she clarified her position of prayer. She honestly expressed the depth of her desires by petitioning the Lord to meet her needs. And we can too. 3, Hannah remained faithful through praise. Hannah, though she was still waiting for God's provision, remained faithful. She prayed about it. The priest spoke a blessing that God would answer her prayer. She believed it. She moved forward in faith, praising God for the peace that she had found. Our weariness in worship may stem from wanting what God has not yet willed. So when it was spoken by the priest Eli, may God grant you your request, she simply believed, and we can too. Hannah's struggle with infertility shows us that it is okay to grieve and be sad over the areas of infertility, barrenness, or dead areas in our lives that we want God to breathe life into. Her great faithfulness in continuing to turn to God and her strength of character did not take away her strong emotions and desires for a child. God did not rebuke her for being discontent. He understood her feelings and heard every fervent prayer. Hannah trusted God to work out the details of her barrenness, and so can we. Every person experiences circumstances that cause us grief. And many times we simply just don't understand why the desire of our heart is not met. But in the life of Hannah, we see that God really does know our hearts, that everything has a purpose, and that trust in Him is never misplaced. Thank you so much for joining me today. And don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Bye.